They set the janitor up as a joke on a blind date, but the female CEO's words left everyone in tears. It all started with a dare. At Henderson & Co., the office was buzzing with whispers and stifled laughter. Mark, the company janitor, was quietly sweeping the halls, his mop dragging slowly across the polished floors. He had been with the company for 15 years, always in the background, always unnoticed, always polite. The kind of man you see, then forget. But everyone knew he was kind, dependable, and carried a gentle smile. One Thursday afternoon, a group of employees, young, bored, and mischievous, decided it would be hilarious to set him up on a blind date. Their idea was cruelly simple. Invite him to a dinner with a supposed CEO's assistant, who was actually Emily, the head of the company. Emily was a powerful woman, smart, intimidating, and notoriously direct. They assumed she'd be annoyed, dismissive, and the entire thing would end in awkward laughter at Mark's expense. They didn't count on Emily agreeing to play along. When Mark arrived at the small, elegant cafe downtown, he had no idea why the receptionist was smiling knowingly at him. He fidgeted nervously with the strap of his worn canvas bag. His clothes were simple: a faded blue shirt, khaki pants, and shoes polished only enough to not embarrass him. He looked around, unsure, until Emily appeared. She wore a smart black blazer, hair tied neatly, and eyes that didn't judge but studied. "Mark?" she asked, sitting down across from him. He nodded, hesitated, and then offered the smallest polite smile. The conversation started awkwardly. Emily's presence was intimidating, and Mark felt the weight of every sneering thought the office pranksters might have sent along with him. But as she spoke, something unexpected happened. Instead of sarcasm or condescension, Emily asked about his life, the small joys, the hardships, the little acts of care he quietly performed every day. Mark, surprised by the genuine interest, began to open up. He spoke of his mother, who had passed years ago, the late nights he spent cleaning the office after everyone left, and the little ways he tried to make the building feel warmer for the employees, leaving flowers by the elevators, picking up stray papers, or always offering a smile even when the day was hard. Emily listened, nodding, her eyes softening. "You carry the weight of everyone else's comfort without asking for anything in return," she said quietly. "That's remarkable." Mark laughed, a little embarrassed. "I just try to do what I can. Nobody really notices." "That's exactly why it matters," Emily replied. Her words were steady, calm, but every syllable carried sincerity. Meanwhile, back at the office, the pranksters were texting each other, waiting for news of their humiliation. What happened next left them speechless. Emily had arranged the dinner in a private room at the cafe. When the server brought the check, she whispered to Mark, "You don't have to worry about that. Tonight is about celebrating you." Mark blinked. "Celebrating me?" "Yes," she said. "The person who quietly makes the world better, without applause, without reward. I think the world could use more people like you." Tears welled in his eyes. He hadn't realized anyone had noticed the small kindnesses, the consistent decency, the patience he carried day after day. Emily's recognition wasn't just polite. It was deeply human. By the time the pranksters arrived, expecting the worst, they were stunned. The janitor and the CEO were laughing quietly over dessert, sharing stories, sharing understanding. Emily stood, raised her glass, and said something that left the room in silence. "To the ones who sweep the floors and lift the hearts of others, may you always be seen." Mark's eyes glistened. He could feel the weight of years of invisibility lifting, replaced by acknowledgement, respect, and genuine warmth. The pranksters, ashamed, realized their cruel joke had turned into a lesson they would never forget. And for Mark, it was a turning point. The CEO didn't just give him a compliment. She reminded everyone present that dignity, kindness, and quiet heroism are worth more than loud success or social status. Weeks later, Mark found himself offered a position coordinating employee welfare, a role that allowed him to continue his acts of care, now formally recognized. And every time he smiled across the office, he remembered Emily's words, feeling the rare but profound joy of being truly seen. Sometimes, The greatest impact comes not from grand gestures, but from noticing the unnoticed. And sometimes the person you least expect to inspire others ends up teaching the world the most important lesson. Kindness matters. After that night at the cafe, Mark's life began to change in ways he hadn't anticipated. The office no longer seemed like just a building where he quietly swept floors. Each hallway, each desk, and even the small plants by the windows felt alive, with the knowledge that someone, finally, was paying attention. Emily made it a point to check in on him regularly. She didn't treat him like a junior employee or a charity case. She treated him as an equal, a partner in building a workplace where people felt valued. They brainstormed ideas together, small acts of kindness that could ripple through the company. A weekly note of appreciation for staff, surprise lunches for hardworking teams, and even a fund to help employees in emergencies. Mark found himself smiling more than he had in years. He laughed freely, told stories, and even shared gentle humor that had once stayed locked inside. His confidence grew, not because he wanted to impress anyone, but because he realized his worth had always been there. He had just never allowed himself to see it. One Monday morning, as Mark swept the lobby, a young intern approached him nervously. "Excuse me," she said, clutching a notebook. "I just wanted to say, thank you. You always greet everyone with a smile, even on rough days. You make this place feel..." Mark paused, feeling a warmth spread through him. "Thank you," he said simply. "That means more than you know." Word of the cafe dinner and Emily's heartfelt speech spread through the office. Employees who once laughed at the idea of Mark being on a blind date now watched him differently. Respect wasn't just given, it was felt. The pranksters who had set it up were quietly humbled, approaching him with genuine apologies and even invitations to help with the welfare initiatives he now led. Months later, the company hosted its annual holiday gala. Mark, dressed in a simple but crisp shirt and tie, stepped onto the stage to help coordinate the event. Emily took the microphone first, her eyes sweeping the room before settling on him. "Tonight," she said, "we celebrate not only our achievements but the people who make those achievements possible. Some work behind the scenes, unseen, unnoticed, until someone finally notices. Mark, thank you for reminding us that humanity matters." The room erupted in applause. Mark's face flushed, but he felt no embarrassment, only the quiet joy of being appreciated for exactly who he was. After the gala, Emily pulled him aside. "You know," she said with a smile, "you could have done this all on your own without anyone noticing. But I'm glad they did. You deserve it." Mark chuckled, shaking his head. "I never expected a prank to lead to this." "Life has a funny way of turning jokes into lessons," Emily said softly. "And sometimes the ones who give the most without asking for anything in return are the ones who change the world the most." Mark realized that night that being seen wasn't about fame or wealth or power. It was about acknowledgement, compassion, and the ripple effect of kindness. One small act, one moment of recognition, could transform lives, not just his, but the lives of everyone around him. And so, the janitor who had been the butt of a cruel joke became a quiet hero in a world that desperately needed more humanity.